You're listening to the Luxe Life Discovered podcast, where we talk with people who are living a lifestyle that reflects their passion, because we believe everyone should be living their best life, their Luxe Life. The show is hosted by Rick Steiner with Steiner Event Group, a premier national event planning company, and co-hosted by Shannon Richmond, the Vice President of the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications of future episodes. The show is produced by 30A Media and is broadcast on your favorite podcast outlets, as well as YouTube, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TVs, and other major brand smart TVs.
Hello, I'm Rick Steiner. Welcome to Luxe Life Discovered. And our co-host today is Shannon Richmond with the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce. So Shannon, I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you for having me back.
Great. And then our guest today is Scott Lassiter with DJ38. And Scott has been on previously. We had such a good visit with you before that we wanted you to come back because, first of all, kind of give a background of what all you do, and then we're going to talk about your event this weekend.
You got it. My name's Scott Lassiter with DJ38, and I have been in the music business and DJing for over 20 years. And since I moved down to the 38 area close to 12 years ago, I've started DJ38 and do full-time corporate events, weddings. That's pretty much what I would call my full-time job. And I also have a full-time job at night pretty much where I produce music and mainly dance music and work in the studio full-time also. So kind of wear two hats.
Right.
But my passion is just playing in front of people, no matter what style of music or anything like that. I just love to see what I'm given crowd-wise and then make them dance and have a wonderful time.
Well, you mentioned the recorded music.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people don't understand you're also a national recording artist.
Correct.
So tell us a little about that, because most people would never know that we have our own celebrity right here.
Well, I would call it celebrity pretty much. What I produce mainly, what my passion is a smaller genre of what I would call mainstream dance music, electronic dance music, and it's breakbeat. And it's like, if you've ever heard of James Brown drummer, so that would be kind of what it is, but to a dance music soundtrack. So I work with a lot of vocalists, a lot of rappers, and a lot of other different people from other genres who want to cross over, or I cross over to their genre. So we have tracks, over 300 tracks out on Spotify, Apple Music, etc. And we recently just got off just a few days ago playing EDC Festival in Orlando, close to 400,000 people over a 3-day period. So that was something I'll never forget right there.
Well, sure. And that was just this past weekend.
Correct.
Yeah. And you were saying that one night there's like 180,000
Correct.
a night. Yeah.
I believe.
I can't even imagine that.
It was it's at Tinker Field in downtown Orlando, and what they do is they take over the stadium. So on every corner of the stadium, there's a huge stage, and then in what I would call like the fairground part of the stadium, there's all smaller stages that kind of just dot the entire fairgrounds. It is people flying from all over the world, not just the United States, for this, and it happens twice a year in the United States, Las Vegas and Orlando.
Do you do Las Vegas?
I do not. I've not done Las Vegas yet. That is absolutely a bucket list.
I heard
item.
you. So
Yeah.
that's good.
I'll be in Vegas this coming up weekend for the Aerosmith show, but I've not played EDC yet. But I've played Las Vegas, but not on that stage yet. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when we see you next time, you'll have done that.
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so.
And you play all over the world too.
Yes,
That's
I played Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I want to take it. I had to finish that part.
Yeah.
But, I played pretty much anywhere that has a breakbeat following. My studio partner and label mate, Dan Giorgia, he's known as Huda Hudia. He just left playing a breakbeat festival in Spain, over 30,000 people. And 3 years before that's where he proposed on stage in Spain, in Seville, to his current wife, Ms. Ashley Giorgia. So he actually proposed to her on the same stage he played at a couple of weekends ago. Kind of unique.
Cool, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm just glad she said yes.
Yeah. But
That would be it.
the interesting blend between what I do in the studio and kind of like my alter ego is when I take the experience of playing clubs in Atlanta, clubs all over the United States, and take that into the corporate event space and wedding event space. It kind of helps me as far as like from the audio side of things and the aesthetics of how you're presented to the audience for a wedding or corporate event. I've learned so much on the presentation speaks to the client before you even play your first song.
Sure.
And that's something that I've kind of taken to what I do with a corporate event and wedding space that I think is kind of missing in some parts of the United States in that
Right.
demographic area.
Well, you know, you played at, of course, you know, but at our recent ribbon cutting, and the client, she'll kill me for saying this. She goes, "Now he's not going to play that booty dropping music, is it? Is he?" And I kind of laughed because I'm thinking I don't even know what that means, but you know, it's you're really keen in being able to know your client. But like you said, that kind of goes into your prep before you even
Correct.
get to the event, where you've already researched everything, knowing their likes, dislikes. Because I mean, you could play any venue anywhere,
Yeah,
regardless of size.
Yeah, I
So,
think
yeah.
how I kind of just tell DJs that might talk to me about doing corporate and weddings is anytime you put on a song, number one, you never play anything that's going to be an abrasive or just is not right for that moment. So you always play it safe.
Yeah.
But every time you put a song on, you're looking at the reaction. So right when you introduce that song on the mixer, you're looking at the crowd and you're seeing the response you're getting. And you will be able to see them. I don't care how dark the venue is. You're going to be able to see. Sometimes you can feel it. And
Right.
it happens to the best of us. You put on a song and you just call the wrong song. You quickly get out of it. You don't have to play that 5 minutes.
Right.
You quickly mix out of it, and you put that in your memory bank in your data to kind of formulate the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And on that event that I had the pleasure of doing with you, which was amazing, by the way.
Well,
Yes,
top
I
to
did,
bottom.
sure.
Congratulations.
We had a blast.
That event
yeah.
was
That was so
very,
much
very
fun.
amazingly executed.
Just wish you were available in
So
December.
what
too.
happened at the end of that event?
Yeah.
What happened at the end of that event? The lady that said "Don't play any beauty music" was actually out there dancing
I
too.
know.
When I
Well,
saw
No.
pictures,
yeah.
So,
No, she said no dancing for her. Remember we were all on the
Right.
dance floor?
That all
But
changed.
do you
Yeah.
remember when I first walked up, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so good. And that goes back to your presentation. The whole setup just looks so nice.
Right.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing industry wide is we're getting away from DJs and even musicians that are just showing up with cables everywhere, which
Yeah.
is a pet peeve of mine, and just a banquet table and a bed sheet thrown over it.
Yep.
Like you have to invest in yourself.
Yes.
And if you look professional as the crowd or guests are walking in, they feel like they're at an event.
Right.
And that's the key
Yeah.
thing. They know that they're going to be entertained. They know that if you invest that in your material setup, then your mental setup and your mental prep is going to be there as well. So I think if you hit them from all angles, no matter who books you, what crowd you're booked to play in front of, you're prepped for success. If your
Yeah.
aesthetics are good and you have great equipment and
Yeah,
you've
'cause
also
that's funny.
prepped.
That's the first thing I said. But what I liked about it is I don't even think they were preparing to do a dance floor or anybody dancing. And at the end of the night, everybody was out there dancing and having such a good time.
They
What's
were,
fun
yeah.
is we call it earning the respect from the crowd. If you're doing
Oh.
clean mixes and you're not just assaulting their eardrums with decibels, and you're reading the crowd, and you can introduce songs for every demographic that's there, no matter if they like country, hip hop, funk, Motown. You can introduce all of that in a creative way, and that's where you can really learn it. DJs are a dime a dozen, but the good DJs are definitely not a dime a dozen. Like it is, I'm still learning, and I've been doing this over 20 years, and I played vinyl, CDs, and now MP3 and WAV format. You never stop learning. And to be very honest, if I listen to a mix that I did a year ago, I want to crawl under the table. And it's not a bad mix. It's just I
you
feel
learn
like
so much more.
where I'm at now versus 3 months ago
Right.
is totally different. And I think anybody that's really passionate about what they do will feel the same way. Even an athlete or a speaker or accountant
Oh,
for that matter.
yeah. Well, I guess you did earn the respect of the crowd because we were all out there dancing.
Oh, yeah, we
It was
were.
a
We were
lot
having
of fun. You
fun,
did a
yeah.
great job.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was a fun night and great weather and great food.
Everything was, yeah.
Oh.
Everything was perfect.
Yeah.
Great group of vendors. I mean, the client was perfect. So
Yep. They
it
were all
was-
high. It just, everything was perfect.
Yeah.
And then, if you had bad music.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
right?
No. Well, I think it's also neat too, with your skill and your talent, that you can still play weddings. Because a lot of people would say, I don't want to deal with weddings anymore, because they can be a pain if
Or maybe they could be a little
or
boring.
just but you make it. You make each one yours. Which
Weddings is where to be very upfront. Weddings is where I keep sharp. Weddings is by far, and I will argue any DJ on this. Wedding DJs are the hardest, setting that I can put myself in.
really,
Keep in
Oh,
mind,
yeah.
think of the demographic at a wedding. We're
Oh, yeah.
talking from
True,
God forbid,
yes.
bring a 1-year-old to a wedding that people do, but you can be from 1 year old to 80 years old at a wedding.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're trying to play something that fits every demographic, that it's not abrasive, but also you're not just a wet blanket either.
Right.
Right.
You know, and the way I view every client, especially weddings, is when I start, it's a blank canvas. And I think that's what separates with my prep. I think it's what separates somebody that's passionate about learning and somebody that's just going in there doing what I call a canned performance.
Right.
Right.
And I can probably give you a list of 20 songs that I would say 80% of wedding DJs play. And I try to not ever play those sons.
Well, that
And
makes
that's
sense,
that's
yeah.
because I talk to the client.
Well, it's their special day, and they're going to record it, have it in memory forever, and if you blow that, ooh,
Yeah, exactly.
I did a wedding, I won't say when or where to keep it kind of generic, but everybody will know. But the mother wanted a band, and the daughter, the bride, wanted a DJ. But she wanted a DJ that would play her style music. And her mother's like, I am not going to have that music played with your grandparents here. And before it was over, so they went to DJ, and before it was over that night, that mama knew every word of that song, and she had those songs that was dancing more than anybody else, and the grandparents were out there too. So it was kind of, he pulled it together, which was, I was, concerned because I'm thinking.
Well, if he just came to an event, had a list, and this is what I'm playing, well.
Yeah, you have to be like, a lot of people, like, you cannot do that and
Right.
be successful. You do not know, especially for weddings, what is going to be given to you to play to that night. You can talk to the clients for a year, which like my booking cycle is typically a year. So you're talking to them constantly, and I'm pretty good at having a very streamlined questionnaire that gives me a great snapshot of my parameters with them.
Right.
And they also, I encourage them to make playlists, and we kick ideas back and forth. But until you get there in person, you don't know the energy of the room. What if it rained that day and everybody's not in a good mood? What if a shuttle didn't show up and they had to walk that mile from ceremony to venue?
Good point.
Which
yeah.
in Rosemary, that could happen. Like in certain venues, that could happen. So you don't know what you're being dealt. I'll give you an example. Two great examples. A couple of years ago, Alabama, the bride graduated from Alabama, won a game. won a game right before the grand entrance. And the energy there, half the wedding went to Alabama.
I bet it was amazing.
This year, Tennessee and Alabama game, half of the crowd went to Alabama, half of the crowd went to Tennessee, and Tennessee won, obviously. And that was a task to get them to come together. I mean, it really was. I mean, it's to the Southeast. So
Southeast is competitive, but everybody wants to beat Tennessee.
So you
period.
don't know what you're being dealt. And
That's right.
Again, like having what I call a written out canned performance takes away your creativity and you trying to engage the crowd and being more of a custom fit for the client and making it more custom. And I equate information that I get from my clients is what I equate it to cooking. If you ask me to cook you a meal and you give me a ton of ingredients, I'm confident that I can cook you a great meal.
Right.
But if you just give me 3 or 4 sentences, like to me, you're going to get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If you only give me 2 or 3 ingredients. So the more information I get from the client, the more I can custom tailor the event to their style and the parameters that they're kind of setting.
Right.
So to me, just engaging the client is so key. And again, you have to be receptive to learning. Sometimes clients teach me a new trick without even them trying to teach me a new trick. Sometimes they recommend stuff that I don't think will work, but they're adamant and they tell me why, and we do it, and it works, and I got another tool in my pocket. So you never too old to stop learning.
Well, as a planner, you deal with your client up until the big day, and then once we get to the reception part after dinner, once they get to the meal, then I can take a deep breath.
Absolutely.
And I've never thought about or the DJ or the band. All of a sudden, you've got the same pressure because you've got to read the crowd, make sure you're playing the right kind of music. So I guess I need to be a little more sensitive to that because that is a huge. Because
you just think you're hearing the music and it's all he just.
But
he
you're
pre-recorded
setting
and put
the
it
mood
in.
for the rest of the night.
It's not like that.
Well, I work with a lot of the same planners. Just for me doing this for close to a decade here, and the biggest compliment that I receive from my planners is once we get that grand entrance and those dances over, they've been at it since probably 8 that morning.
Right.
They literally take it. They high five me like they know that I have this.
They're like, good, we can kick.
They know
kick
that I
back
have it.
just a
And
little
to
bit,
me,
yeah.
that's like a great compliment. And
Sure,
I
sure.
feel like if I added stress to a planner, that they would not use me anymore. Like I'm not a, if I have a, I'm a self learner and a self starter. So if there's an issue, I'm pretty confident that I can pick it up and take care of it without having
Right.
to engage them and, you know, build up their stress level.
Oh,
I think that's the
good.
Marine coming out
So
of
do
me.
you have
Yeah,
something that's like a backup, like if you're there and it's just not going as great as you thought?
I've never had like the I think the biggest curveball you can receive for a Southeast wedding is when you have
Southeast wedding.
if you have a very strict grandparents or aunts and uncles
Yeah.
that are very, very by the book, and then you've got a sorority or fraternity getting married,
Oh,
Yeah.
and you've got people that want to let loose. They might have traveled 3 states over, and they don't want to hear the cha-cha slide. Okay, they want to really dance and listen to music they expect to hear when they're being entertained at a
Sure.
nightclub.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest struggle is on the client's end, not communicating what to expect. And what we're seeing at some of the more, what I say, structured events now is we are actually seeing an early shuttle that for the last hour, where it's mainly people that want to hear. It's kind of like a unsaid announcement on the invitations to where we're going to play this type of music the last hour.
did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you know that's just being very direct. And I think the more information you give your guest, the more they can plan
Are you
their
saying
night
send
out.
grandma and grandpa home?
Send them home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all they're
Well, no,
doing,
that's a
You
good point.
don't want to,
You want them at the first part,
and you want them to
and
have a
then-
great
yeah.
experience, and then you don't want to offend them at the end.
yeah, and
Right.
I mean,
great.
to me, and also what we're getting around to doing now, I'm not a big fan of this, but we're also doing fake exits, and we're also doing cake cutting. Cake cutting now is not what it used to be. Bouquet, like it's just a photo op now. Sometimes
Right.
we don't even announce it. It's just a photo op. Bouquet and garter toss, if you're listening to this and you're about to get married, skip the garter toss, please.
Yeah.
No one does it anymore. It's cringeworthy. You want to crawl under the table. And no matter how creative you get, we've seen it, and your grandmother doesn't want to see that.
Right, and their doesn't want to see her granddaughter.
Do that the last hour with the other
Yeah,
good
or
music.
not at
Just
all.
not at
Not
all,
at all.
Or not at all.
I agree with Scott. on that one.
Bouquet toss is fine, but the garter toss is just so drawn out, and it's just fake energy. And keep in mind, once I get everybody on the dance floor, and we have to stop midway to do,
Oh, you lost your momentum.
you've lost all the momentum,
Yeah.
and then you've got to get creative and get them back.
Right.
And what you're doing is you're giving people an
Oh,
excuse
to leave. Yes. Thank you. I'm glad you
Yeah.
said that because
Are
we
you gonna
we
tell
did a,
your brides that?
I tell all my brides that.
I
do?
feel
In
like
fact, the last several weddings, they've always done the fake exit, and I've said, don't, because and it is an excuse for people to leave, and they're like, oh, they won't leave. They'll say, and they'll say, well, if the band or DJ is good, they can bring them back in, but they shouldn't have to bring them back in. It is because, we had one wedding, we had like 2 hours left in the reception that night, and all but 10 people in the family, the bridal party, and then some of the vendors were there. Everybody else left. And we had fun the rest
What
of the
does
night,
the
but
music
it's like,
got? What do you do?
well, first, before I tell you what I do, and I have a good trick to do it, but ask yourself this. Everybody that's out there listening, name your favorite band. Name your favorite band. And let's say you don't have the best seats. Let's say you were in the mezzanine, all right?
okay.
What if Bruce Springsteen, midway through his concert, or 3/4 away through the concert, you've been traveling and you've been drinking a little bit, and you're 8 hours into your day, and you're kind of like, you have to leave to go outside to the venue to your car to get something, and then walk back in and finish the last 30 minutes of the show. You might leave that show, and that's Bruce Springsteen, not
Right.
cha-cha
That's true.
slide.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's true, yeah.
what I like to do now for doing a fake exit, I demand on setting up them actually booking a separate PA so I can go out there and announce the exit.
Yeah.
And I make the bride and groom get on that microphone, on my portable PA, and demand they get their butts back on that dance floor. We have a surprise for them. And it'll be a song that means something to the main people in that wedding party.
Oh,
That's good.
That's
Because,
really good.
It's just like you have to engage.
Is that a secret? Like everybody's
Well,
gonna know
probably
now.
is a secret.
well, fake exits became popular because sometimes your videographer or photographer won't stay that long.
Correct.
And or it's not in that package that they have. And so we've come to accommodate certain vendors that have forgotten who the real client is.
Right.
And
Doesn't
so-
sound like Scott.
But
He's
that's
forgotten.
just my little rant there.
Yeah,
Scott, so.
like some of the people like say photographer, videographer, they don't want to pay for the whole day. that's when you have to do the fake exit. Or if there's
Right.
if there's rain coming and they have a cold spark package, or they say they have a horse and carriage, or they have something that requires you to be open air,
Yeah.
that's when I think a grand exit would make sense. So you can incorporate everything that you've already booked, because we rent cold sparks.
Well, that does make sense.
Or if it's not covered, and they definitely, like Rosemary, the cobblestone streets, you definitely want to get that in your exit shots with the cold sparks in the background. If you do black and white exposures on that, it pops. So I understand, but if it is just a traditional wedding, an indoor exit where everybody's lining up, I'm totally against it. But there are ways to get everybody out there. But
I like how you said you make sure that you demand that they have that.
Well, I feel like
extra-
the client's putting me in a very bad spot.
Right.
And if I do not have everybody dancing, I'll think about it for 4 or 5 days
Well,
afterwards.
plus they'll think you look bad.
And that's why I tell them, one thing, God, thank you for this. I'm very blunt with my clients now. And if it's
That's
a bad
good.
idea, and I know in my heart, I've seen it live,
Yeah.
it's a bad idea. They've only had one wedding. I've probably done 400 or 500 weddings at this point. So I know what works, and I know what I can work with, and I know what I absolutely cannot work with. As long as I'm adamant that I feel this certain way, I'll still do what they suggest. Because at the end of the day, they're my client. But I would not be doing them my best job if I did not
Right.
tell them.
And just make them understand, if you do a fake exit, there are no guarantees about after
But
that
the thing
point.
is then people
But-
goes, oh my gosh, that was terrible.
Yeah.
And then you never want to hear that.
Correct.
I know, yeah. It is a tricky part.
That
I'd
is.
rather,
I never knew.
yeah.
I mean, I never thought of. I just thought, wow, we're having a good time.
You know what? Another secret of mine is, like, I always find in the crowd when I'm doing cocktail hour or during dinner, I'm finding people that have a little bit of pep in their step and energy. Usually it's like a fun couple, and I'll go up to them and engage them. I'll ask their name. I'll introduce myself. Like, y'all want to hear anything tonight? Y'all come tell me. I feel like y'all gonna be on that dance floor. If I do that to 20 people at a 200-person
then you know you're
event,
gonna have.
I've got a built-in. They think we're best buds, and they're
Yeah.
coming up to me, telling me requests, and even though I'm very confident in my skill, it's always nice to have some secret weapons in your back.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So I just think engaging, and when you show up the day of, that's your job. And I think a lot of people just go through the motions. Where to me, if I just went through the motions and I did not execute to the best of my ability, I would go to sleep with that in my head that night.
Right.
I really
right.
would.
Well, no, that makes sense, because you want to. It's just like as a planner, you want the best vendors to work with at an event. And same way with you. You know what you bring to the table, and that's why people hire you, because they don't have to worry, like you were talking about your planners. They don't
I
have
bet
to
when
worry
you
about
started,
that
you
part.
weren't that confident.
So I've DJ'd in Atlanta for a long, long time. At pretty much every venue there. And I DJ'd for the Atlanta Falcons, DJ'd a lot of bigger nightclubs with thousands of people.
Yeah.
This is back when the DJ booth was like in a hole in the wall in
Right.
the second
And
story.
you're up there
Because they
doing
were kind of.
this.
No one could
Okay.
access it
Yeah.
at all. You had to feel the energy and see hands in the air. You couldn't see the facial expression.
Oh.
So I
never
knew
thought
I could
about that.
DJ. I knew that I was very experienced with sound equipment and sound design and how to set up. But what I did need to work on was just my interaction with the crowd. Because down here, even when you play nightclubs here, the people are right there. When I used to play Pandora's or Red Bar, and we've all been to Red Bar, they can literally They can literally pour a pitcher of beer on your equipment.
Yep.
That's how close you are.
Yeah.
Not that that's never happened before.
Thank goodness.
But long story short, is like you learn just by getting out there and by recognizing you could have done something better.
Yeah.
And I cut my teeth with weddings. I'm embarrassed to even tell you. I remember I did a wedding one time in Montgomery, Alabama,
This is
for
gonna be great.
$300. $300 just because the bride her budget was gone. Her last DJ pulled out. Like, what can you send? I was free that night. $300, and I did it mainly to just go and take care of her and make sure she had a good wedding. But doing events like that, doing corporate events, playing nightclubs here where people are right in front of you, they can touch you, that makes you really be on top of the music you play and your selections and your mixing. Because if you do not play a good music at a bar around here, you're gonna find out very quickly.
You don't get a call back.
Not only
Well,
that, the crowd's
You
gonna
know
let
it
you know.
immediately.
The
Yeah.
crowd's going to let you know. And again, just networking and putting myself around planners. Like, I tell every planner, like at the end of every year, I send them an email. What can I do better? Like, where am I failing you at? Like, what can I do?
Oh.
And they are very blunt. That's one thing I love about the planners around here. They won't
Rick,
tell
are you taking notes?
Really?
Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, if I know how I'm doing, like, or what I could do better at, I mean, we all win. And
Absolutely.
that's the kind of motto we'll get by.
Well, this has gone by quick, but we still haven't covered your rental part. So tell us about your rental
Yeah.
business that you have now.
We're about to launch 30A event rental.
Okay.
We're building out the site now, but basically we're going to be renting out like bands that you would know. We're going to rent out celebrity DJs. We have cold sparks, photo booth options, multiple different looks and fronts for that. Basically anything you could possibly think of as a luxury add-on for a wedding, we're going to start including that. We're going to have a great catalog and book.
Wow.
So,
okay. So they'll be able to go to your website, and then
Correct.
you'll have a link to your rental site.
That's
as well.
correct. 30A
Okay.
event rentals. We've already got the domain. The website's being built out,
Okay.
and we have people right now negotiating contracts with some like all-star vendors and officiants. Like, imagine having a celebrity being your officiant.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
you know,
So,
kind of added like a different luxury service to this.
and where did this come from?
Man, honestly, I was on the beach, and I'm like, what are we missing down here? The
Yeah.
population boom is crazy. Weddings used to be 2-day-a-week business here.
Oh,
it's
it's
now
every
7
day.
days a week
Yeah.
here.
Wow.
As well as corporate events. You know, we have a bunch of big corporate companies coming here for their corporate retreats.
Sure.
And you know, I've been very fortunate to be part of that for a lot of them. So I'm just thinking about what can we add to that service.
That is good. And you know, we always think of DJ. Of course, well, I'm much older than both of you guys, but
Yeah,
you know,
he's much
DJ
older.
was just somebody that just came and, as we say, it would spin some records.
Yeah.
You know, that type thing.
Yeah.
And that whole just image of a DJ has changed in
Well, he's
what
part
I
of the
do.
event.
He is,
You
yeah.
know, being a DJ.
He controls the whole mood
Yep,
of the event. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And again, like just adding different layers of service and different add-ons just makes the client feel like they have had a custom day just for them.
Right.
And I mentioned earlier, starting with every time I have a client, corporate, wedding, it is a clean slate. I don't want to tell you what works for me.
You don't come with some pre-design.
I tell them before I have any conversation with you about planning, you have to fill out the questionnaire. And I'm always adding and taking away from it, but I think I've got it streamlined to where once I read what they give back to me, I've got a great snapshot of what they're expecting from me. My parameters are set.
That's good.
So that way, when they ask me questions, I can actually give them advice based on their wants and needs.
Okay. I tell you what, look at the camera, give your website and information.
Absolutely.
And then
I'm Scott Lassiter with DJ30A, and you can reach me at scott@dj30a.com or simply dj30a.com. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
all right, that wraps up our edition of podcast with Scott Lassiter. Always great to visit with you, and your talent just speaks for itself, but you're a great person as well, and it makes it so much fun. So thank you, Shannon, for being here again today.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
You're welcome. And we'll see you on the next episode of Luxe Life Discovered.
Check out Luxe Life Discovered on Facebook and Instagram and on 30a.tv. See you next time on Luxe Life Discovered.